Hi and welcome back. I'm Rusty Pop with Intero Real Estate Services and you're watching Real Estate with Rusty. And I'm here with my co-host Danielle.
Hi.
And today we're going to be starting off with a real estate update just to kind of give everybody an idea of what's been happening in the real estate market. We'd like to do that every week. In addition to that, Danielle will be introducing a new topic just like we have been for the past few weeks. So just to give you an idea of what's going on in the market, we've talked a lot about the inventory situation and we've brought up, of course, how we have very low inventory. One of the things that's good if you're interested in purchasing a home is that inventory has actually crept up a little bit over the last few months and especially the last few weeks. So as I mentioned, we had about 800 homes for sale as of a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago. So as of today, there's about 1,100 homes for sale in all of Santa Clara County. And again, that does include condos and townhomes. So that's a tick up from what we've had in the past, especially earlier this year. We were down about as low as 300 homes for sale, so significantly up, Danielle. One of the things that has also happened is we've seen that buyers have been slightly less aggressive in writing offers, both in the price and the terms. I would not say necessarily that the prices have gone down. In fact, I'd say they're still appreciating, however, at a little bit slower pace, and buyers definitely have a few more options when they're making these offers. So it's really good for everybody because sellers are still getting a great price for their home, and it's still a great time to sell, and I would consider it a seller's market for sure, but buyers definitely have a little bit more of an opportunity to get their offer accepted. So it really is still a seller's market, but buyers definitely have more opportunity than they had before. Isn't that right?
That's right, Rusty. To take our last show on the buying process into more depth, we thought we would talk a little bit about how to find a buyer's agent. So buying a home is not the same as selling a home, right, Rusty?
Absolutely not.
The steps to buying a home are different, and so are the feelings that go with it. Since the buying process is different than the selling process, there are certain qualities that you should look for in a buyer's agent versus a seller's agent.
I definitely would agree.
Real estate agents who represent buyers are commonly known as buyer's agents. Real estate agents who represent sellers are commonly known as a listing agent. Finding and interviewing the right agent to fit your needs is incredibly important, and we're going to share our tips, interview questions, and best answers with you. So I'm going to interview Rusty now, and Rusty is going to give you an example of what really great answers are during the buyer's agent interview process. Finding and interviewing the right agent for your needs is incredibly important, and we are going to share our tips, interview questions, and best answers with you here. So Rusty, first question, do you require a pre-qualification or pre-approval before you start looking at homes with me?
So whenever I work with a buyer, Danielle, the first thing that we want to do is talk about the pre-approval process because realistically that's your ticket into the game, and that's what actually allows you to start making offers on homes. Because there's a lot of competition in the market, most sellers are not going to, in fact not most sellers actually, all sellers are not really going to take your offer very seriously if you don't have a pre-qualification letter. And in fact, a step further in a pre-approval letter would be very important.
Perfect. Do you typically work in my price range? And this is a hot question because price ranges are all over the place in Silicon Valley still, and we aim to serve everyone's needs, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So when I'm working with a buyer, I really work in all price ranges. There's buyers that I've worked with recently that have bought condos that are 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom condos that are in the lower end of the price ranges, more of an entry-level type of a home. And I've also helped buyers in the very high end into the multi-million-dollar ranges. Really the skill set that you need for each of those does vary, but given the low inventory and given the tactics that we use in order to get offers accepted, it's definitely a good idea to work with an agent that has a strategy outside of the box, and that works whether we're looking at the higher end homes or we're looking at the entry-level homes as well.
Good, very good. Do you have other trustworthy professionals that you can recommend to me?
So this is a great question actually, Danielle. I think any realtor that works for you should have contacts and a network of people that can help with all various different needs, starting from the buying process all the way through actually being a homeowner and actually maintaining that home. So for example, within my network I have loan officers that can get you pre-approved based on your question before. In addition to that, insurance agents that will help you through the insurance process, making sure that you insure the property for the right amount of money, not only to make sure you're protected at the right levels, but also not overpaying. We also have people in our network that inspect homes. We have people that also can do work, remodeling work, as well as maintenance work, so that you can make sure that the home is in great condition throughout the entire time that you live there.
That's
so
awesome.
That's very important, actually.
Yep, that's great. So Rusty, do I have to work with the lender, inspector, or other service providers that you recommend?
So that's actually a very important question. There is no real estate agent nor company that can require you to work with specific service providers. And if somebody does require you to work with their specific people, that might be a red flag. What I would say is this: when I work with certain vendors and I work with certain lenders and inspectors, I do so because I've built up relationships with them over 15 or 16 years. And they usually can do things for me in a more efficient manner. They tell me what's really going on with a home in certain ways that I can understand them better and convey that better to my clients, or rather directly from those vendors to the client, so that there's no loss of information in the in-between. But to require you to use them, I think is, again, it's a red flag, and it's technically illegal.
Yes, there's that.
Yeah.
So if I choose to work with my own lender, how would you work with them?
So I do it all the time. So I work with many lenders. A lot of people in my client base, they will come to me pre-approved before I ever even meet them, or they've been pre-approved by a friend, family member, or another referral. A lot of my business comes from referral because that's basically what I've built my business on. And as a result of that, those clients are also the type of people that work with referrals, right? And so they usually come with a pre-approval letter intact, and I'm more than happy to work with that person. We coordinate very easily. I just get on the same page with them as quickly as possible, as early in the process as possible, and then I set up a meeting either by phone or in person with your lender, and I actually set expectations right away. So what I do is I actually talk to them about what we need to do to make sure that we're successful in this market, and what I'm hoping that they can do to help me through that process. In addition, I'm asking them questions just to make sure that the person that you're working with is somebody that I believe is going to be able to do the job at the end of the day, because if that doesn't happen, then nobody's successful.
Yes.
So super important.
Yes. So this question's a little obvious for me to ask Rusty, but if you're going to be interviewing an agent, it is helpful to ask, are you a full-time real estate professional, or are you only part-time?
That's actually a very important question, and I think it doesn't get asked often enough. I think what the consumer would normally expect is that real estate agents are full-time in the business all day long, all night long in many of our cases, right? And as a result, they don't ask that question. And there's a lot of part-time real estate agents. There's also a lot of people that are more or less retired, or they have part-time other jobs that they work and do real estate on the side. And in today's market, I personally don't recommend that. I wouldn't hire an agent if like for example, if I was going to recommend my sister to an agent, I wouldn't recommend a part-time agent or somebody that's filling the gaps in, just because this is a very 24/7 job, especially if you want to do it right and make sure you're serving your clients. Things happen very, very quickly. For example, when you write an offer on a house, many times the offers are due at 3 o'clock, and you may hear from the seller by 5 o'clock, and they may want an answer as to whether or not you can revise your offer within as little as 15 minutes up to a couple of hours. So if somebody has another job that they're at and cannot get to their phone within that time frame, it can put a real problem, and you could actually lose the sale of a house as a result of that. So it's very important. Plus, with the experience level of being full-time and the experience, and not just the experience, but also your reputation as a realtor matters. We talked about that last week. And the other agents are going to know the difference between a full-time agent and a part-time agent. So it's not going to be in your best interest to work with one that's not always available.
Yeah, there are a lot of time-sensitive issues that happen, especially at the end of a sale or the opening of escrow. So
It's about availability
Yes.
and consistent contact.
So tell me, how many homes did you end up closing for buyers last year?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I closed 31 transactions last year, and I would say 60% of those were for buyers.
Wow.
So whatever that equates to. So a good portion of them, more than one buyer per month, so that's where I ended up.
Okay.
This year I've actually done, I would say probably 9 buyers so far, and we just finished April.
Wow. Wow. And in this market, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow. So tell me, how many buyers are you normally averaging at a time? Like, how many people are you working with that are looking for homes?
I think that you should ask that because back to the availability thing, you really do want to make sure that they have the capacity and the bandwidth to take you on as a client in order to make sure that your needs are met and that you're being served the right way. In my case, I don't know exactly how many buyers I'm working with at the moment, but I'll tell you this, that as far as active buyers that are looking for a home to reside in and are very aggressive and motivated and ready to make a purchase right now, I have 2. Okay, but I also have other buyers that I would call more auxiliary, where they're looking for the very specific right house. They're not motivated to make a move at any given time, and or investors that are really just looking for the right deal to come across their desk. So when I'm working with those people, I definitely put some effort in. I look at what's on the off-market list and try to find them a fit, but they're not taking up as much of my time as somebody that would be looking for a home for their family, who's really, really aggressive and wants to maybe move in before the next school year starts.
Yeah.
So right now that's 2. I probably carry at any time between 2 and 6 of those type of buyers, and what I find is that that's a good number where I don't feel overwhelmed, and I also am able to serve them in the right manner.
Right on. Okay, so when a buyer is very motivated, how many homes do you typically have them look at?
Wow, that's a really tough question to answer because it's really not entirely dependent on me, right? So a lot of times it depends on the buyer's motivation, and also it depends on their criteria and how strict it is. I have buyers that one husband works in, say, Menlo Park, and the wife works in South San Jose. Right, so they're really looking for a home anywhere from Morgan Hill to San Mateo.
Okay.
Right, and so they have a very broad search, which complicates things for sure because it's difficult to look at homes in that broad of a spectrum and then also look at the different prices and compare. But that person has a lot more options. Whereas somebody who has a kid in school at a specific elementary school that they have to keep them in, it's going to be much more difficult because there may be one home every 2 weeks that comes on the market for that person. So in general, I may show more homes to one buyer than another, but on average, I would say that probably between 10 and 20 homes is probably the average if I had to guess.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a good mix of your research skills and communication
Yes,
with the
absolutely.
client.
Trying not to show people homes they don't want to see, right?
Yes,
Because that's a
yeah.
waste of time for everybody.
Completely. Another question that is kind of obvious from our standpoint, but Rusty, please tell me, how many years have you been in real estate?
So I've been in real estate for 16 years. I started when I was 19 years old. It was actually originally a job to just supplement income while I was in college, and it turned into a career.
Wow. All right, so next question.
Okay.
What experience do you have in selling homes in my target areas?
That's great. So that's diving into the research part of things again, and also really qualifying the agent to make sure that they're going to fit your needs. In my case, I've sold homes all over the Bay Area. And as a result of that, I have experience in many different markets. I think one of the good answers that an agent can do is obviously give you examples of homes that they've sold in the neighborhoods that you're looking. That would be a very good way to answer that question. In addition, if they're plugged into an office that has a lot of agents that are all doing a fair amount of business, they will then have had a collective experience that will really help. I find that when an agent is plugged into a bigger company or they sit in a bigger office, they know about the transactions that are happening not only on their own desk and with clients that they're working with, but also they know about the transactions that are happening in the market as a whole. So I think a good answer would be either that they have examples or that they work for a larger company.
Right on. So Rusty, could you provide me any testimonials or any past clients' names?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of things that you can do. Number one is I could direct you to my website, which has some testimonials on there that were written by my clients. In addition, I can give you some names and phone numbers of people that you can actually reach out to by email or phone, and they'd be happy to get back to you.
Perfect. Do you require any of your buyers to sign contracts or agreements?
The short answer to that is no. I don't actually make them sign anything. That's called a buyer-broker agreement. There's a couple of reasons that I don't. Number one is that realistically, if someone wants to work with me, they're going to. And if they don't, then it's probably better for both of us if we don't. In addition to that, I'm not really sure that buyer-broker agreements are all that enforceable, just because there's no database that tracks them, right? So who really knows? And then third of all, what I'd prefer to do is I'd like to describe to my clients how we get paid as a real estate agent and what the effort is going from the start of that process where we're looking at homes all the way through until we close, because we don't get paid until the very, very end. And once I have, not educated, but, explained that process to them and shown how much effort and how much value we bring to the table, usually I know that they're going to work with me exclusively. And as a result, I just don't feel the need to have them sign anything. It's funny, actually, because what ends up happening is when somebody decides not to work with me anymore because maybe a family member just got their license, or they found someone at an open house that's going to give them a rebate or something, to that effect, they usually call me and they say, "Hey, do you have a copy of that document we signed with you?" As a result of that discussion that I just had. And then my answer is, we don't have one. But yeah, no, I don't.
Okay. So you've already answered the question that I had for you, which was, do you have a website?
Yes.
So you do.
Very important. This is Silicon Valley.
It
so
is.
If you don't have a website as a real estate agent, you should.
Yes, yeah. Everything's online. So the next question I have is a bigger question. It's a three-parter.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
And that is, what is your strategy to meet my needs? Part A
Okay.
is, how do you determine which homes may match my wants and needs?
If you don't start from the standpoint of what exactly the buyer's needs are, both desires and then must-haves, and then the non-negotiables, as I think some people mention it, or the negotiables rather. If you don't start from that, then really what are we doing, right? So you really have to start with the specific criteria. And what I like to do is get a really, really good, clear picture in my mind of what it is that you want. So it is a little bit of a process of elimination rather than selection, because again, the limited inventory is going to make it so that, we're going to have to go look at a few homes and I'm going to have to see your reaction to certain things. But to begin with, I have a very strong checklist that rates features of a home from 1 to 5. And with that, I'm able to determine what it is that you like. For example, if you hate hardwood floors, my checklist is going to tell me. If you love them and you must have them, my checklist is going to tell me. In addition, pools can be one of the things that people, absolutely do not want, and then others absolutely have to have. So those are good indicators, and so I have a checklist filled out. If I'm working with a single person, then it's great because they make all the decisions for themselves. Right? Sometimes I'm working with a couple that doesn't agree. So what I like to do is have them each fill out that checklist without me, right? And then they can come together and sort of argue it out and then send me the revised, finalized one. And I find that that's really the best way to do it.
It's very smart.
Thanks.
Yeah, super savvy. The second part is, how do you provide the information of these possible homes?
Well, I actually deliver it in a number of ways because I'm looking at both what's on the multiple listing service as well as looking at off-market opportunities which come in from various sources. I can't deliver it all in one, simple way. If it's coming from the multiple listing service, I have a really good delivery system called Real Scout that is somewhat automated but also not. So I look at it and I approve what goes out through Real Scout so that it is automated but also has a little bit of my eyes on it as well. And then when it comes to the off markets, I scan through the information on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times a day, and when something pops up, I then create an email for you which has, if they're available, pictures, addresses, school information, and a description of the property as well as the price that they're looking for. And so usually you'll either get an email from Real Scout, my application that sends it out, and then or from me personally regarding the off-market properties.
So just to go into a little bit more detail on the off-markets, how does that work? What does off-market mean? And then also, how do we have access? Is there a secret directory? How does that work?
Yeah, so kind of there is a secret directory. And it really varies by the company that the agent works at. So in my case, we work at Intero, and Intero is a Berkshire Hathaway company, so we're one of the largest in the area, in addition to having about 3,000 local agents. So what ends up happening is Intero sells about 1 out of every 5 homes in Silicon Valley. And as a result, then we have a lot of agents that have what are called coming soon listings, or they have pocket listings. These are ones where the agent has a listing where a seller is very private and doesn't want open houses, and they don't want their pictures on the internet and so forth. These are emailed directly to us through a distribution list, and those are the ones that I would provide that way. There's also a network called Top Agent Network, and to qualify for Top Agent Network, you have to have sold more homes than 90% of other realtors over the last year or two. And so most agents don't qualify for Top Agent Network. However, the agents that sell the most homes do, and therefore the coming soons and pocket listings that they have show up on there as well, which gives you, as my buyer, the opportunity to see those.
So you have an edge.
Definitely.
Yeah. How do you handle offers, multiple offers in a seller's market?
So we're going to be competing, in many cases. So this is very appropriate because this is going to come up. So what we do is, when you're interested in a property that is likely to have multiple offers, there's a number of things that I do in order to try to make sure that we have the best chance of getting our offer accepted. The first thing that I do is I check to make sure that that agent that we're working with is one that I know or don't know. If I know them, then I can definitely, utilize my relationship with them to try to get as much information as possible about what the seller's looking for, how many offers there are going to be, and if short of that, how many disclosure packages have been downloaded, which is an indication of how many offers might come in on the property. If I don't know the agent, then I'm going to first start trying to build rapport with that agent so that I can get to the point where I can ask those questions. So number one is trying to build a relationship with the other agent, and then trying to find out information about what it's going to take to get your offer accepted, both in terms and in price. Also, many times, if possible, we might write what's called a preemptive offer, in which case we actually write something that's very strong, both in terms and price, that the seller might actually look at, review, and accept prior to getting all the multiple offers, so we might be able to circumvent that. That's the first step. Secondly, we would want to go through all the disclosures, inspections, go through the market analysis and figure out what is a competitive price for the house, and then couple that with the information about how much competition there's going to be on the house. And by doing that, we know exactly what we need to do to make a competitive offer. So going forward from there, writing a competitive offer, right? Also making sure that I write the offer in such a way that I demonstrate I know what I'm doing. You would be so surprised at how many times on my listings I get offers from agents that are half filled out, or it's very obvious that they didn't put the effort in that's necessary to take a transaction to the finish line. And as a result, those offers, even if they have the best terms and price, might not be looked at as favorably. So I try to do everything I can as far as making a perfect offer. Next to that is trying to present your offer to the agent or the seller in person so that I can again demonstrate that I'm a professional agent and that I do this every day. That way, again, I can engender their support for you. And then I try to include information about yourself and about your family and about why you want to purchase that particular home, because that also can engender support from the seller.
That's fantastic and pretty succinct, considering it's a very big process.
Yeah, it is a big process, but I've been doing it for a long time. I've honed it over years, and also, I think that I've mentioned before that everything should be process oriented, and that we should do everything that we can on everything that we do. That way, if your offer isn't accepted, there's not this one thing in the back of our minds that we could have done that might have made it work.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
It's important for everybody to have peace of mind at the end.
We'll be back right after this break.
How do you advertise your business? Are you relying on signs and flyers or using an online campaign? Did you know that TV ads and commercials are the most proven method of promoting or attracting new customers to your business? Whether it's a sole proprietorship, a family business, or a corporation, marketing your business with A&B is the best return on your advertising dollar. So the question really isn't whether you should advertise your business with A&B. Rather, it's why you wouldn't. Contact us to find out the various commercial packages we have to offer.
When it comes to selling a home, most homeowners want to know they're working with the best realtor to maximize their sales price. If receiving the highest possible price for your largest investment is the goal, then hiring the right agent matters. Hi, I'm Rusty Pop with Intero Real Estate Services, and I'm really excited to have the honor of presenting this property. Rusty Pop of Intero Real Estate Services provides superior knowledge of real estate market trends as an extremely active agent in San Jose and the Silicon Valley with a track record of selling throughout the Bay Area. Specializing in 3 keys to getting the top dollar: preparation, presentation, and promotion, Pop Properties has a custom marketing plan for you. Rusty and his team offer a concierge service to get your house on the market and looking its best. We take care of all the details to make sure your home shines to attract the maximum number of buyers, and combined with our worldwide global marketing strategy, we ensure the maximum competition for your home. When buyers compete, sellers win. Specific services offered include a concierge coordination of repairs, cleaning, storage, high-end and extensive marketing, and professional custom staging designed specifically for your home. We can even coordinate a full remodel of your house for you. Staging, high-end, state-of-the-art photography, a lifestyle video, and global marketing all come free when you list your home with Rusty Pop. If you're looking to list your home or simply want to discuss its value in today's market, don't hesitate to call 650-793-9575.
All right, these next questions are more technical, but they're worth asking.
Okay.
The first one is, what methods of communication do you utilize?
I really try to use the type of communication methods that my clients prefer. So personally, I have my cell phone on me all times. So obviously receiving phone calls for me is not a problem. In addition to that, obviously that means that I get text messages, and I do open up my cell phone to my clients to allow them to text me as well. So phone and text are always on me, and my email sync to my phone as well. So text, email, and phone calls are very, very viable ways of contacting me, and vice versa. But sometimes my clients are very busy at work, and I can get a quick answer from them via text, whereas a phone call might be more appropriate if it's a more technical thing that we need to talk about, discuss, and actually make a decision on. So I don't think deciding on price, deciding on whether the condition of the property is going to be right for them is something to do over text, whereas a phone call might be more appropriate. But if I want to ask them something very simple like, can I meet you at 4 o'clock today, maybe a text is okay. So there's the different methods based on circumstances, based on their preference and how busy they are.
So when we're in the process of putting an offer in, how much time do I have to review documents?
So that's going to be dependent on the situation. Generally speaking, you'll have had the property information for long enough for you to have time to view the property in person, and for me to download the disclosures and inspections and actually have me review them as well as you. So a given amount of time is going to be variable, because the offer deadline might be on Monday where the property was listed on Friday, right? So you may only have a weekend. But then very often also there'll be about 7 days between the time a property was listed and the time that its actually offers are due. So you'll usually have anywhere between 2 and 7 days, but there are times where things get hurried.
Yes.
But I review inspections and disclosures every single day, and so I know exactly what to look for and can find the important information in a big stack of documents very, very quickly. So I'm able to review them first, send them to you, have you review them, and then we can discuss them after.
Fantastic. Do you use e-signature?
I do use e-signature if that's what my client would like. It's very efficient, and it also is date stamped, time stamped, and it's verifiable. So it's super cool that we can use that in this day and age. But if my clients require live signatures for their own preference, or if the bank, for example, might require live signatures, we can do that as well. But I do, yeah.
Perfect. So either way. Do you know of any home buying programs that can help me with my purchase or with my post-purchase improvements if I want to remodel my new home?
There are a number of programs that are out there for that. Some of them are city, county, or state funded. Those ones, typically what I've found in the past is that by the time my clients are ready to try to use something like that, all the money that the state has allocated for it is already used up.
Yes.
Or there's a waiting list for it. But banks do have programs like that. For example, the FHA, which is the Federal Housing Administration, they have a loan which is called a 203K. You don't need to remember that.
Yeah.
But the 203K loan is one in which someone can purchase a property with rehab improvements needed even to live in it. So
Okay.
something that is in unlivable condition can still be purchased this way with a very small down payment. And then part of the loan is to actually give them the money to do the rehab work. I have to be honest, it's hard in this market for those kind of loans to be accepted because when you're competing against other buyers, typically on a property that needs that kind of rehab, you're going to be competing with investors with cash, which is going to be favorable to the seller.
Yeah, that's what's happening currently.
But there are definitely options for you out there.
Perfect. Yep. Next question, again technical. Do you attend inspections, and can you please go over inspections? What are the biggest parts of that process?
Yeah, that's very important to me, actually, is to attend inspections. And actually, if you're my buyer and the inspections haven't been done on the property prior to you actually writing the offer, I'd actually like you to attend the inspections as well.
Yes.
What I find is that reading something on a document versus having a professional inspector show it to you physically and explain it are very different. And so you can get to the point where you read something on an inspection that may seem like not a big deal when actually it is. Or vice versa, something that looks like a big deal on paper, but in reality it's not. And so actually talking to the inspector is really good. So the three most common inspections that we recommend and often get on properties is just starting with the roof. Then there's a roof inspection. Secondly, there is a termite inspection, which is kind of a misnomer because it's not just termites, but it's any wood-destroying organism. So that can be fungus, that can be beetles, or that can be termites. And then the third inspection is called a home inspection or a property inspection, which sounds very general because it is. So what a home inspection does is it actually goes ahead and tests all the systems of the house from the foundation to all the appliances, water heater, the windows, the doors, and really looks for any general red flags. Now, if we get those three inspections and there's anything on there that the inspectors act like might be a big deal, but that they don't have the expertise on. For example, home inspectors may notice a crack in the foundation, but they don't have the expertise as to diagnose why it's happening, how bad it really is, and what the cost will be to fix it. So then I'm going to recommend that we get a foundation expert to come out and do that work for us. And the same is going to go for other things, like if the roof is showing that it needs to be completely replaced as opposed to having some maintenance work that needs to be done, then we're going to actually actually bring a roofing contractor out to give us a quote to replace the roof.
Yes. And in this market also, sellers generally already have the disclosures ready and attached to the listing profile.
Very often that is the case, and I always want to look at those inspections and kind of verify myself if it's a company that I find reputable and you've either used before or know about. And then also if it's not, then that's probably when I'm going to recommend you do your own inspection.
And that's when experience is key. That's all the time that we have today on Real Estate with Rusty. We will continue part 2 next week. I'm Danielle Valley, and this is Rusty Pop.
Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.